If you're watching this, first of all, thank you for watching this. The bylaws are very, very critical. They're very important. This is the most amount of changes that we've made in years and years and years. We did make some updates. We added a few sections in 2016, but we didn't really do a full overhaul of the bylaws. And so a lot of these changes are a long time coming, and it's really important. What I want to hit today is actually I'm going to hit all the fundamental changes that we made. This is our most severe changes that are substantive, but also are kind of just the biggest changes that you need to be aware of. So going to get through this as quickly as you can. I got a little screen share to do with you to kind of go over it, but it's 9 sections. It's a dozen changes in all. And here we go. So the name of the corporation shall be the Bath-Brunswick Regional Chamber. That is our first bylaw. And all of these screens, you'll notice there's large writing and many of them have small writing. The large writing is our new proposed writing. And the smaller writing is what used to be in the bylaws as of after the last updates in 2016. So you'll see that our name used to be the Southern Midcoast Maine Chamber. I think many of you remember we did a 9 months of naming polls last year to come up with a new chamber name. We did announce this name back in March of 2022, the Bath-Brunswick Regional Chamber, and that's our new name. And that's been our new forward-facing name, with the idea that we would just update the bylaws with that. And as we got into the bylaws, we noticed that there's a lot of other things we wanted to change, and that's why it's taken us so long. But this is not negotiable. This has already been decided. Full stop. This is our name, the Bath-Brunswick Regional Chamber. Second change, and probably the most important and influential is changing our purpose and our vision statements. So actually, let's start at the bottom on this one. You'll see the vision and the mission statements were very short in our previous bylaws, and so these are the ones we're looking to replace. So the vision of the Southern Midcoast Maine Chamber is to increase prosperity in the region and in our region, and that's correct. But it's not vibrant, and the same thing with our mission. In support of this mission, our mission is to champion the growth, success, and quality of life in our region. Again, still very true, but very generic, very broad. And so we wanted to put some density behind that and kind of give us some guiding principles and some core tenets. And so now, as you can see, the vision of the Bath-Brunswick Regional Chamber is to be the trusted partner for relationship building, economic expertise, and the facilitator of regional vitality. So in support of this mission, in support of this vision, rather, our mission is to be a catalyst for growth and development of our region through collaborative policymaking, eliminating barriers, connecting leaders, promoting prosperity, and welcoming diversity. So those are kind of the 5 core tenets that we're going to use to lead us through these next couple of decades as an organization. So that is super duper exciting. Would love to hear some feedback on that. I know word choice in these is always difficult. Do know that we had numerous meetings on this to kind of get right down to this. But if you do have some comments on that, we'd be open to hearing them. Another big change is our annual meeting. So the corporation shall hold an annual meeting within the first quarter of each year. It used to be in January of each year. This is one of these changes where it's just going to help us with compliance. If you're saying it has to be in January, what about snowstorms? What about, venues and their available dates and that sort of thing. So this gives us just a little bit more flexibility. Plus, if we wanted to, in future years, have the annual meeting of the membership as part of the awards dinner, which now happens in March every year, we can do that. We don't want to do that right now. Right now, we're very happy having this in January at the beginning of the year. But if a future board wanted to make that change, we don't want to have to go back to the bylaws to do that. So first quarter year for the annual meeting. Also, we didn't have the meeting frequency of when the board and the executive committee will meet. We also have something here about special meetings. And so this is a really important one for you to understand that our bylaws are our minimums. And what we're trying to do is just not go below our minimums. So it says here that the full board will meet at least 6 times annually, and the executive committee will meet at least 8 times annually. Our board and our executive team is planning to meet more than that. In 8 or 9 is the word we've been talking about for full board, and maybe every month an executive. This just allows us in case something comes up, in case we can't get a quorum, it used to be monthly for all of these. If we can't get a quorum for all 12 months of the year on one of the months, we don't want to be in violation of our bylaws. So pulling these back to some numbers would be good, but we do want to decrease our full board meetings number. We've got that feedback from some people that were potentially going to be board members that fewer meetings, would be helpful. So that's one of the changes that we're making. Special meetings are noted in here. I'll tell you, we haven't had a special meeting of the membership in the 6.5 years I've been the executive director here, so they're pretty rare. But there is no minimum or maximum for those. A fourth big change is the composition of the board, and it says the affairs of the corporation shall be managed by its board of directors. Said board will consist of not less than 9 directors, is what we're going to go with. So originally it said 15. 15's a big number, and everybody being so busy right now, I think we're always going to have a dozen or so directors, but it doesn't have to be 15. If we've got 13 or 14 great directors, do we need to bring someone on just to bring them on? So let's lower that limit down to 9. There are plenty of organizations that run with 9 or fewer people on their boards. So 9 just felt like a better number with the times we're living in. This one is a big change in writing, but basically it's streamlining the nominations process. So the nominations process here basically says in November the president will appoint one director to serve as the chair of the nominating committee. The nominating committee will bring suggestions for board members to the board. They'll accept nominations from the general membership and evaluate those and come with a recommendation to the full board. And that's about it. And then the board approves the slate of directors and officers, and then it goes to the annual meeting of the membership for their approval. So that's what we do. The old process is here. It's very, very restrictive. So it says here that it has to be 3 directors and at least 1 non-director to serve on a nominating committee, and they can nominate other people. There's something in here in this next section about additional names of candidates for directors may be nominated by petition bearing the genuine signatures of at least 50 members in good standing, and it's got to be to the nominating committee by November 15th. And it's like, wow, it's a lot of guidelines to have to run by for our nominations, and it's just much more complicated. So that's the old way there. The new way, again, we're appointing a nominating committee in November. Someone will chair that committee. They will be the ones that will vet the nominees, and then a recommendation will be made to the board and voted on by the members at the annual meeting. That's a much better way to do it. 5.1. So there's 2 changes here in section 5.1. In our old bylaws, it said all officers shall be elected annually by the board of directors no later than the first regular meeting of the board. As I just said, that's not actually what we do. We actually have a slate of directors and officers that gets approved by the board, but then it actually goes to the annual meeting of the membership to get approved by the membership. So we just changed this bylaw to say all officers shall be elected annually by the membership at the annual meeting of the membership. And then the second part of this, in the old bylaws, is that any 2 or more offices may be held by the same person unless otherwise provided in the articles of corporation. And we added a little caveat that says, except the president and the treasurer shall not be the same person. And that's just for internal checks and balances. Whoever's the lead person in the organization should be holding the purse strings as well. So that's just a nice check on the power. 3 changes here in the duties of the officers. The first 2 have to do with succession. So it said in the old bylaws, you see it's crossed out here, that the first vice chair is supposed to take over the chair and be on the finance committee. The finance committee doesn't exist anymore. Same thing with the second vice chair. They're trying to take over the vice chair. And so we took the succession language out. Part of that is because we've now gone to presidents maybe serving 2 years instead of 1 year. And so it just doesn't work out with term limits and that sort of thing, where if somebody wanted to be the second vice president, if they have to wait 2 years for the president that's in office and 2 years for the first vice president, if they started as a second vice a year or two into their term and you can only have 6 years, then they're going to term out before their term is done. It just makes it a lot easier. So we've replaced that language that just says the first vice president is first in succession for the role of president unless otherwise noted, giving us that idea where somebody might be able to be the second vice president, but not be in the line of succession. The other change we made in this section is Part D. It said the secretary shall also be responsible for signing the board minutes. We do not print out our board minutes and have people sign them in 2023. This is not something that's done. Finally, the last change is to committees. So Section 6 is about committees. And the old bylaws said the corporation shall have a standing committee in the categories of fundraising, financing, marketing, membership, government liaison, and the Mid-Coast Education Outreach Program. A couple of those aren't even active and running anymore, or they've merged into something else. The Mid-Coast Education Outreach Program is not a program that we have run. It's defunct. It really hasn't operated since I've been here. Fundraising committee, I'm guessing that's what the events committee is. And actually, we took the events committee and we actually broke them down into just each of our 3 events: the awards, the golf tournament, the tree festival. They're their own separate committees, and so it's like, just so we're not in violation of our bylaws. I mean, yes, the marketing committee is still running. The government liaisons, is another one that's still running. They can still run. It doesn't need to be in the bylaws. And so that's why we said, hey, you know what? The corporations will have a standing executive committee. That executive committee can create other committees and task forces as needed. And that way, even if the marketing committee, merges into something else, or we get a staff member that takes over the roles of that committee, we don't have to go back in and change our bylaws again. So that's basically it. If you have any questions on that, I know I went through quickly, so feel free to rewind. If you have any questions, do let me know. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks a lot.